topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Songwriter Show. I want to thank you for tuning in tonight, and I welcome you back wholeheartedly. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are very important to me, and that's why I'm so thrilled to host this show for you every Tuesday evening. I believe that every song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on number one ranked W4CY Radio and has listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in America. The station is also licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and Sound Exchange, and has partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio and exposure to over 300 million listeners. Tonight's first guest is Jeff Bryan. He's currently the keyboardist for the legendary band Survivor. Think of Eye of the Tiger. And he grew up in L.A. in the 80s and appeared in the original movies Karate Kid and Hot Moves. Jeff's original music can be heard in many current cable and TV shows. Welcome to the show, Jeff. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Sarantos. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, my friend. It's very exciting to have you on the show. So I guess my first question is, how did you get hooked up with Survivor? How did that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. The reason being is because I'm not 100% have a definitive answer. They contacted me. I'm not sure how. I've been playing, in LA for years and years and years. So it could have come from a contact or someone I've known, or they somehow got a hold of my, seen me in something. But anyway, they sent me an email and asked me if I'd like to come to Chicago and audition. And that's really as far as I know. I don't really have a better answer than that.
Yeah, hey, you know what? That's the whole thing in this business, right? You never know.
Yeah. It was a very kind of shocking in a sense that when I got the email from them, I really didn't know if it was real.
Yeah.
So,
you thought it was a buddy teasing or something?
But it wasn't completely surprising either, in the sense that, I had played with so many different artists and different people throughout my career that, they could have gotten my name from anyone.
Sure. What got you going into the piano? How old were you when you started playing the piano?
Well, the piano actually wasn't my first instrument. My first instrument was guitar.
Okay.
Well, actually, I should go back. My first instrument was actually vocals. I was a singer. I really didn't care so much about playing an instrument as I was interested in songwriting and singing when I was very young, about 12 years old. And I just was so taken by the songs I was listening to. I had a whole bunch of Beatle records and, just all the 70s music that my parents had grown up with. And so I was singing, and I was getting a little tired of having to sing other people's songs. I wanted to learn how to do my own. And so I picked up guitar. And as I worked with guitar, I there was a piano in the house, but that piano wasn't supposed to be for me to play. That was for my sister. But she never touched it. And so I gravitated toward it, maybe partly because it was sort of off limits, Yeah. And anyway, as time went on, by the time I was about 15, I considered myself more of a piano player than a guitar player. I still play guitar, but that's not my main instrument. It's keyboards. It's piano.
Yeah. Okay. And when you start writing a song, do you start with your piano? Do you start with the melody? What do you start with?
Well, a lot of times it's a melody. And you find a melody or you hum something and it kind of sticks with you. And you try to find, what does that melody mean to you? How does it affect you? And then hopefully some words will come for that. And then there are other times when you have a title or you have an idea in mind for a particular idea that you want to write about, a concept. And sometimes that leads you to a style or a sense of, some type of music to put to that. So it can come in both ways. I'm sure you've heard that a lot before. Sometimes it's music first. Sometimes it's lyrics first.
Sure. Well, it's good that you're open to it too. Some people are very regimented. They always do it a certain way. So I think it's great to kind of be open to things because you never know.
Yeah. Through the years, I tend to write a lot of instrumental music because of TV. And what's interesting about that is that music itself, although it doesn't have lyrics per se, it does have emotional movements. There are things that speak to you. And just as a form of communication, even without lyrics, the music can almost tell a story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so songwriting, songwriting in terms of pop songwriting is usually about one specific idea, and the music is a soundtrack to that idea. So sometimes it's having a lyric first can create a very powerful song because you can build a soundtrack to that. And other times when you have this great piece of music, you're just dying to find some words for it.
Yeah.
It can happen in both directions.
Yeah, so we have our first question of the night for you from Kendall. He's asking, what brought you to music specifically?
Wow, that's a good question. I was pretty young. I was about 10 or 11, and I was singing. Well, I didn't know I was singing. I was kind of forced to go to Hebrew school at that age, and didn't really care much about what they were teaching me or any of the other stuff. But there was this great cantor at the temple, and he had this amazing voice. And so I would try to mimic him because it was so powerful. And I discovered I had this huge voice I could really project. And it just made me feel really powerful, really strong. I really enjoyed the feeling I got from singing. So it wasn't so much about being a musician at that time. It was just about a way to express myself. And I liked the attention I got when I did it. And so that led to, maybe I should be doing my own stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that kind of led me, so one thing kind of led to another. But it wasn't, I didn't immediately say, oh, I want to be a songwriter. I really wanted to be a singer.
Yeah. What would you say is your favorite place to tour or do a gig? A certain city, certain country?
Anywhere there's a lot of people. The more the better. There's just the energy coming off a large crowd of people that are very, glued to what's going on stage. It's so exhilarating. But to answer your question more specifically, I find that I like the big cities. I'm from LA. So naturally I love LA. I love Vegas. I love Chicago. But I like a big stage. I like a lot of people, But then on the other hand, there's something to say about intimacy too. When you're on a smaller stage or you're just in a small club with a handful of people, sometimes that can be very special as well.
Yeah. What's the coolest thing that's ever happened to you at a live gig?
The coolest thing?
Or we could pick scariest thing if you want. Whatever.
No. I got a good story.
Okay.
It was my first gig with Survivor. My very first show I ever played with them. There's a song you guys probably know. The Search Is Over. It's a ballad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a beautiful song. And the first night that I get up, we were in sound check, and Frankie Sullivan, the guitar player, he said to me, "Play a little something before you start, before the song starts. Just, give me a little piano thing. And so I did a little something to show him. He's like, no, more, do something else. And then so I did a little more, and that was it. He said, yeah, do something like that. It was very kind of loose, kind of up to me, I guess. And then without letting me know, the show starts, and we get to that part of the show, and, we're in front of a whole bunch of people, and my first time up there with them, and we get to that part of the show, and they get off the stage, and all the lights come down, and the spotlight on me.
Wow.
And okay. And so I was like, I guess it's my show now.
That's awesome.
So, so I just went into my own thing, and I had a great time. I mean, it's frightening, but frightening in an exhilarating and positive way. You have an opportunity to kind of be creative in that situation, which was unexpected. It was great.
Yeah, that's very cool. Who do you think would win a fight between Spider-Man and Batman?
Batman.
Batman. Okay, cool. You have any hidden superpowers you want to confess to on air?
I think communication.
Okay. Is that with words, with your keys, or all the above?
Well, I think that as a singer, you're just naturally communicating anyway because you're using language. But as an extension, music is a form of communication, and it all should add up to something when you're having a conversation with somebody.
Yeah,
you're trying to convey emotions, and so anyway, I think that's something I pride myself on.
Okay, what's the best career advice you've ever gotten that you want to share with the listeners?
John Novello, he plays B3 for Niacin, and he's an amazing keyboard player. I did some work with him once, and he was a little intimidating. I mean, he was MD for Chick Corea, so I mean, it wasn't like anything I was going to play was going to surprise this guy.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, well, I'm screwed. But he said something to me that kind of eased me. I mean, he wasn't trying to make me feel more comfortable. He just happened to say something that stuck with me. And, no matter what it is that there's going to be all kinds of virtuosos and people that are just amazing, or people that are just born with these ridiculous amounts of talent. It's not a competition. And no matter what it is that they do, they don't do you. So you get, as long as you're comfortable with yourself, do what you do best. Just be yourself, do your thing, and and don't compare it to something else.
Yeah, it's great advice. I think a lot of us, this is my 7th year officially doing this, and when I first started, I would try to mimic other people. Survivor was one of my all-time favorite bands, and after a few years, you start to realize that you want to just start singing like you, because everyone is a little different. And it took me a while to realize that, but I think that's great advice. Yeah,
I mean, it from a keyboard player's point of view is where I was taking it. And, sure, I mean, he may have certain skills that maybe I didn't possess at that time, but no one's going to play the B3 the way I play it.
Sure. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So there's something to embrace with that. That's something to consider.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your website information, contact info. Where can people get a hold of you, listen to more of your stuff?
Sure. My website is jeffreybryanmusic.com. That's Jeffrey with 2 F's, REYBRYAN. So that's my website. That's the best place to reach me.
Okay, awesome. Kim's got a question for you. How long have you wanted music in your life? Have you wanted it ever since you started playing it, or did the love and commitment come later on?
No, it came immediately. As soon as I opened my mouth to sing, and I saw the look on people's faces when I was about 10 or 11 years old, I was like, I'm done. This is it.
Yeah. Okay.
It was never a question.
Yeah, you just knew. Another question for you from Bryce. How would you describe the style of your music?
Well, personally, what I write for myself,
yeah,
pop, or anything that makes me, anything that attracts me to. I'm emotional. I like things that have a lot of drama and that are cinematic. So okay. I like a lot of feeling. So pop,
sure.
But
now you've been in LA and you've been doing this for a few years here. I like to ask every guest on the show, because we want to protect each other, but how do people avoid scams or being ripped off? Anything you've heard of that might be new that's just getting out there, or anything you want to warn everyone about?
Well, yeah, I think the most confusing thing for people is about publishing. And it's hard because when you're a new artist, you're kind of at the mercy of wanting to move to the next level, and so you feel like you have something you need to give up to get it.
Sure.
And it's very easy to be vulnerable and to make, you're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. Don't be too hard on yourself. But in order to avoid too many of those pitfalls, try to be as knowledgeable as you can about what it is that you're trying to do. And there's so much to read. There's so much good information out there. There's no reason for you to be completely ignorant about the business anymore. So I would say, if you're interested in selling your songs or having someone plug songs for you and you're a songwriter, learn all you can about how publishing works and what kind of deals are considered to be typical for this era. And then try to ask, for advice from people that are, a little further along than yourself.
Yeah. So along that train of thought there, do you work directly with publishers for the instrumentals and things for your film and TV, or do you have relationships with music supervisors at this point? Like, how do you work that?
Yeah, it varies. Sometimes it's the director, and sometimes it's the editor. Other times it's music supervisors. It just depends on the project. Depends on how you came to that project and what your relationship is with it. In other cases, it's you might just be writing for a library.
Sure.
In which case you just have a set of instructions and you don't even know if it's going to be picked.
Yeah. And do you give that up? Do you sell, like, work for hire, or do you always try to keep some publishing and rights to it?
No, I try to always keep some publishing if possible. I mean, it's not always possible. You usually have to give something up. And that's where it gets a little confusing for people because, they know that it doesn't sound legitimate, but there's a certain legitimacy to it. But at the same time, how much is too much? And that's kind of a tough road to walk sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have a preference for exclusive versus non-exclusive? Do you just do one or the other, or both?
You mean writing for people exclusively?
No, I meant for publishing. Like when publishers want to use your song or hook up with you.
The only time someone would want something exclusively, you have to ask if they're willing to lock something up for you, then they must have something. If it's just somebody that believes in you and doesn't really have the goods, maybe you can put some timeline on it, so some time frame. You can say, well, for 6 months. That way someone can actually work for you. I mean, you got to remember, publishers and people like that, they're not going to make any money without you. So if they don't have a reason for holding your music hostage, so to speak, then they don't really belong working with you.
Absolutely. That's great advice too, because in the beginning I did some, like you said, 1-3 year deals, and they never email you back or call you once you sign with them. So a time limit's a great idea. That way, if they're not working for you, you could just kind of take it back and give it to someone else.
Yeah. There's ways to negotiate, things without having to look like an idiot, look like you're trying to be either ignorant or pushy or something,
Yeah. All right, Jeff, we're going to hear your song now. You want to introduce it to the audience?
I think you're doing Can't Stop the River. This was a song I wrote actually back in the 90s. I had a band called the Sun Lions, and we were sort of a local a local favorite here in LA, and we used to open up for Iron Butterfly and ELO and Great White. We had all these shows that we used to play out here, and I tried really hard with that band. We almost got a record deal many times. But some of these songs I always thought were really strong. So anyway, this song's called "Can't Stop the River." It's to describe it, I guess if you want to know about it, it's the force of nature. You can't stop nature, and sometimes it's better to go with the flow than try to fight it. And that's kind of what this song's about.
All right, man. Jeff, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Love to have you again anytime you want, man.
Wow, I enjoyed talking to you, Sarantos. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Jeff. Have a great night. We're going to hear "Can't Stop the River" right now.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Have a good night. Okay.
You too.
From where I stand, I've been rolling on my own. Like a bird, she flew to me upon a fresh warm breeze. Freedom's like a drug, you know, addicted to the need to be. She said, this time tomorrow I'm gonna be gone. I must be moving on, can't stop the river. Like a river sees through me, as if I wasn't there. Walls of steel surround a heart well protected. Some things aren't meant to be, you know it won't be right unless you let it go. This time tomorrow I'm gonna be gone. I must be moving on, can't stop the the river. Nothing you can do will change this course, so please just let me be. Don't block the river. Whoa, get out of the way. Ooh, let it flow.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Well, our second guest I'm excited for also. His name is Chandler. Chandler's an American singer, rapper, songwriter, composer, producer, and multi-instrumentalist from Virginia. He's a classically trained musician. He began writing music at the tender age of 12. Welcome to the show, Chandler. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Sarantos.
You're very welcome, my friend. So you're a multi-instrumentalist. How many instruments do you play?
It's like 7 or 8.
Wow.
I could play piano, play some guitar, play some, I don't know if ukulele would count different than guitar, but I can play some bass, trumpet, trombone. How many is that?
That's awesome. And you actually play them, right? You're not like me who just sits on a piano, changing stuff in Logic and pretending he can play every instrument, right?
Yeah, I like to think I can actually play them. Yes.
Awesome. What's your favorite instrument?
Right now, I think it's the guitar probably, but I started on trombone. Like that's my primary instrument. But Right now I enjoy playing the guitar the most.
And do you have a certain preference when you write something, when you write a piece? Do you start with a certain instrument? How do you start?
Actually, it's usually all begins in my head. Like I usually don't begin with an instrument. Sometimes I'll like figure stuff out on the piano or like get a chord progression down on piano or guitar. But usually I'll be like doing something that super menial, like, just walking around my house and I'll think of this idea and then I'll hear the drums in my head and then the instruments. And once it's kind of in my head, then I'll go to the instrument and figure it out from there. Yeah,
that's awesome. Is there a certain musician, dead or alive, that you'd want to jam with?
Oh, absolutely. I can think of 2 off the top of my head. One kind of older, one new. Billy Joel, 100%. He's one of my favorite musicians of all time. He's also an incredible piano player. So to jam with him would be insane. And also an artist called John Bellion. He's one of my inspirations too. And he's just a ridiculously talented multi-instrumentalist guy and producer. So those would probably be my top 2 right now.
Okay. Yeah, I saw Billy Joel last year in concert, and wow, man, it was awesome. Everyone's like, oh, he's older. He was great. He filled up. We went to Phoenix. We saw him in Arizona because he didn't come through Chicago. It was incredible. I mean, he was just awesome, and he was playful. He had great conversation, good banter. It was just totally blew me away. I knew he'd be great, but it was just one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Yeah, he's incredible. Seems like everyone that I know has seen him in concert except for me. So
yeah,
I probably got to see him pretty soon.
He's still jamming, man. Just go. I think he's. I know he had residency in the East Coast at one point. So just head out there and you'll get to see him. How do you get people to take you seriously as a musician? Obviously it's a tough business. How do you do it? Yeah,
I think it's just first and foremost the talent. I feel like you have to have a degree of skill and talent to be taken seriously in the first place. And also just by believing in yourself. I think if you don't think what you're making is good and you don't actually believe and try to push your stuff out there, then nobody's going to take you seriously if you don't take yourself seriously. So I think just having that confidence to really, be able to persuade people and, convince them to, hey, that I'm a real artist. Check me out, that type of thing.
Yeah. What were you like in high school?
High school, I was always, I kind of had 2 different stories in high school. So I started out, I was a late bloomer. I was always the small kid,
Yeah.
But I was kind of seen as this kid who was really talented and had a lot of energy, but just hadn't grown up yet. So, and then once finally grew a little bit, I was still seen as musical and like very talented, but still, I wasn't like super popular or anything. I was still kind of shy in high school. So yeah, that's how I was.
Okay. Who's your favorite person to follow on like Instagram or Twitter or Facebook?
Probably just my favorite artists right now, like John Bellion, Jeremy Zucker, and Lau, people like that, in that lane of pop.
Okay. What's the most satisfying day you've had in your life? Can you describe it to us real quick?
Yeah. I might have to go back for this one. Yeah, I think, I started out a classically trained musician, and so I wasn't really writing too many songs when I was a teenager. It was more like pieces and compositions and like stuff for orchestras and bands. And so probably when I had my first piece premiered, and so that was such a great feeling, like coming up to the front and kind of the whole crowd like clapping for me, and my parents in the audience being proud of me, and just people in the band that I was playing with also being like super proud. And there's no other feeling like that. And hearing your music being played for the first time, whether it be by musicians or whether you're putting a song down, recording for the first time, or like hearing positive feedback from your friends and just people out there that really appreciate you as a musician. So probably the first time, but I'm sure there's many times like that where I've heard a song or heard like great feedback from somebody. That feeling will never get old.
Yeah. So Bonnie's got a question for you. How does someone go from classical to rap?
Okay, so I started getting into hip hop music when I was in like a freshman in college. I went to a Halloween party as Eminem, and somebody asked me to rap one of Eminem's songs,
Yeah.
And I couldn't. I didn't know any.
Okay.
So I was kind of embarrassed by that. And so I went back to my dorm, and I basically listened to his whole catalog, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I started getting into hip hop, and that's really kind of how I started writing songs. I started writing like verses and stuff.
Sure.
It wasn't very good, and it probably didn't make a lot of sense, but I had to do it. It was like a stepping stone, and it got me into songwriting and hip hop. And from hip hop, hip hop became mainstream just like a couple years ago, and so that kind of got me into pop writing, and now we're here.
Cool. Yeah, it's a great story, man. I love Eminem too. It's
Legend.
What are there any apps on your phone you can't live without in terms of making music, not in terms of, social media or something else?
Yeah, probably Spotify. That's where I listen to all my music. I don't make music on my phone because now it's like all Logic Pro, like laptop stuff.
Yeah.
But I used to make music on GarageBand in high school and on my phone, which was really kind of makeshift, but it worked for the time being, But I'd say Spotify definitely.
Yeah, I think for anyone out there trying to get into it, I was like you, starting GarageBand, and eventually you can step up to Logic Pro, which I think does everything I could ever want it to do. Even when I work with other people and they work in Pro Tools, we share back and forth. You can import. I mean, I love it. I'm a Mac guy anyway, but it's super easy.
Me too, 100%. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So I kind of try to ask everybody about scams. Anything you've fallen for? Anything you want to warn us about that you're hearing rumblings about, or just any advice?
Ooh, yeah. I haven't really run across too many scams. So yeah, I guess just trust your gut with those.
Okay.
usually when people are asking you for something and it seems unusual, or if it's like a person you know that's asking you for something, it's always sketchy. It's always a scam. So I just stay away from that.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Why don't you share with the audience a little bit about your contact info, website, where you want them to check out your music?
Okay. My website is officialchandler.com. That's one word, officialchandler.com. And my Instagram is officialchandlermusic, all one word as well.
Cool. I think, in hearing you say that, I feel like you have to make a song called Chandler Bing or something, from Friends. You just have to play off that for SEO or something. I think you could dominate that SEO conversation.
Man, everywhere I go, I get that. I'll be ordering at Starbucks and I'll give them my name for the order and they'll be like, oh, have you watched Friends? Or anyone that meets me for the first time always gives me that Chandler Bing.
I'm telling you, though, you got to, for SEO, especially now that nobody's really doing anything with that, because I think they're going to do a Friends remake at some point. So you'll get your music to the top, man.
Yeah. Didn't just come back on Netflix or something. I feel like I saw.
Yeah, the series, but they keep talking about like a reunion, like, like the next step or some kind of something afterwards. They're trying to figure out, is what I keep hearing. So.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'll have to jump on that.
Yeah. Why not, man? It's your real name. So, I mean, you get up there and then people are searching. They'll just be exposed to your music. So,
good idea.
What's the funniest thing that's happened to you recently? It could be a month, a year, whatever you want. Just the funniest thing that pops into your head.
Oh, boy. I don't know if anything's popping in my head right now.
How about the funniest book you've read or movie you've seen or something?
The funniest book I read? Oh, or music. Yeah, so I just went to Memphis a couple months ago. It's probably more like 8 weeks ago, and I had never seen like movies like Step Brothers or Paul Blart or any of those, and we just watched those back to back, and I've never laughed so hard.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's like a lame story, but that was actually just like a hilarious moment. We were just like, all right, let's watch these. Why not?
Sometimes you need that dumb, silly humor that's mindless, and you can just sit back and veg. So I get it.
Exactly.
We got another question for you from Fawn. Do you feel music has taken you places in life?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I'm always trying to grow as an artist, and I feel like I have some sort of control over that, just with like my mindset and the way that I always try to keep pushing forward and gaining more exposure. So I don't know how far it'll take me, but I definitely feel like it's on the rise, and I definitely feel like my music is growing and will continue to grow for a while.
Awesome, yeah. Now tell us, we're going to hear your song here in about a minute or two. Tell us about this song. What inspired it? What do you want to share with us? Yeah,
so the song is called Rendezvous. I wrote it, like the first part that came to me was the hook, which the words are, I'm thinking we could rendezvous because you want me and I want you. And that just seemed to like roll off the tongue so well. It rhymed. Yeah. It just felt like it fit. So I wrote that part first, and then just kind of, filled the song in from there. I wanted to keep it like fun and casual. So it's kind of like where I'm like talking to a girl, like an interest, and just like, like trying to keep it cool, but like saying, hey, like we should get together. So that's kind of like the whole, it's like a playful nature of the song. And yeah, I just tried to keep it fun.
Cool. Did you, what instruments did you play on this track, or did you do everything?
Yeah, I did everything. I produced the beat, I mixed it and mastered it and everything. So there's some guitar, a little bit of piano, electric piano in there. And there's like a full like brass section that you'll hear that was recorded all by me. It's 6 different brass parts. It's 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, but it's it sounds like a brass band, but it's all me, and it's
Wow.
all panned out in the stereo field.
Yeah. Do you, the other thing I'll ask, because sometimes listeners are musicians too, and do you do work for hires for brass? If someone wants to hire you to do a brass section or, add a little flair to their song, are you up for that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully get you hooked up, get you some work too. I was listening to your song and I kind of love the some of the vocals you mentioned earlier, how you go into a little falsetto and then you kind of, that's exactly what I thought, a little playful and casual. And yeah, I think it's kind of cool. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, man. We're going to hear your song right now. I wish you nothing but the best. And again, hopefully you enjoyed your time here.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Sarantos.
No problem, man. All right. Have a great night. All right. So here we go.
Have a good one.
You too. All right. So let's take a listen, see what you guys think. Here we go.
I'm thinking we could rendezvous, 'cause you want me and I want you. No, we don't have to get too serious. I got a table set for two. I ordered lobsters and a brew. These waitresses might think that we're in love, but I think that's mainly you. Now I'm just playing it too cool. I got some things I wanna do, and all them involve you. Yeah, I wanna see another side of you I ain't never seen. Yeah, I wanna be riding through the city with you next to me. You didn't have to say much, you said it all right there in your touch. Come on. Yeah, I wanna see another side of you I ain't never seen. Oh yeah, yeah. I wanna be riding through the city with you next to me. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't have to be love, but I just wanna know when we're meeting up. So let this thing of ours begin, and meet it out is a good start. Hey, I got cash I wanna spend. I order drinks at a good bar, and if we know how this story ends, then let's just skip to the good part. Let's just skip to the good part. Oh yeah, I'm thinking we could rendezvous, 'cause you want me and I want you. No, we don't have to get too serious. I got a table set for two. I ordered lobsters and a brew. These waitresses might think that we're in love, but I think that's mainly you. Yeah. This Friday evening, I'ma bring that charm. You gon' bring those jeans, or you might take my arm off the energy. You know, just in case, I got my place all clean. Yeah, this Friday evening, it can last all night. You don't got to leave, oh yeah. Yeah, this Friday evening, pick you up in the caddy, come and ride with me. Who's that? Oh, the bad chick beside of me. She's the one that these other girls try to be. Yeah, yeah. Cross from your eye and me. Hey, that's the only place that I'm trying to be. So let this thing of ours begin, and meet it out is a good start. Hey, I got cash I wanna spend. I order drinks at a good bar, and if we know how this story ends, then let's just skip to the good part. Let's just skip to the good part. Oh yeah, I'm thinking we could rendezvous, 'cause you want me and I want you. No, we don't have to get too serious. I got a table set for two. I ordered lobsters and a brew. These waitresses might think that we're in love.
That was a very, very catchy song. Wasn't rap, but it was a great song. So I want to thank both of our guests tonight. 2 excellent songs, 2 great stories. I hope you guys enjoyed them as much as I did. I want to thank you for tuning in tonight and every Tuesday night. I know that your time is precious, and I sincerely appreciate you spending any of it with me on the Songwriter Show. If anyone out there is a listener and who is an artist and you want to be on the Songwriter Show, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope everyone's unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos, and please join me every Tuesday night to hear other amazing, fascinating artists share their behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show. And tonight I'm going to leave you with my song that just came out today called You Are My Whole Life. This is essentially a Valentine's Day song about the love of my life. She is my whole life. She always has been, and she always will be. I hope you enjoy it, and the music video coming out next week tells our story. Have a wonderful night. I love you, and thank you for tuning in.
Soul, soothe my tired eyes, smile away the pain, always stay the same. Why won't you believe you are my true love? Everyone can see you're my destiny, you're my guiding light. And then take away the pain, make me feel so safe. Why you insecure? Crazy what you think. You know that it's true. Have only eyes for you. You're my guiding light. No reason to hide. Heart is open wide. You are my whole life. I knew you were the one. From the moment I heard you laugh, it's been non-stop fun. You're my guiding light. No reason to hide. Heart is open wide. You are my whole life. You are my whole life. You are my whole life. You always have been.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.